picture? Like,
No, I said I love it.
oh, why? Thank you. Sorry, I just heard profile picture and that's it. So I have listen. My brain is not here today.
Well, is it in the boiling aisles? Because we're going to talk about that. All right, I've started the
Oh,
recording, so
absolutely, it's there.
So let's introduce ourselves to the audience. I'm the TheVertabraeDeity. I am a part of the anime Urkin Empire, and I have come here to infiltrate real-life Earth because Zim failed to do it in his own universe.
Perfect. I'm the vertebrae deity. I'm here for your spines. I already have 420 of them so far, but you can be next.
She also has me trapped in a Kenny death loop.
Absolutely.
So yeah, So with all the horrible stuff that's going on in the world, let's ignore all that for a brief couple minutes and talk about cartoons.
Absolutely.
So I assume you've watched the Owl House episodes, correct?
Yes.
Good. So, yeah, let's talk about it. The Owl House is the show created by the guy who made Gravity Falls' girlfriend, who previously worked on DuckTales and Gravity Falls. It's pretty much Harry Potter knockoff with Star Wars: The Forces of Evil elements and the humor and villains of DuckTales.
Yeah, that sums up. That's it. That's all the show is.
And
It's so much more than that. It's
yeah,
great.
and yet it's like 10 times more interesting than one sentence I could ever say about it.
Absolutely.
It's got this really cool animation style made from these three artists whose names I cannot pronounce. I just know that one of their names is Bosch, and there's also a character named Basha who I absolutely hate in this show. We'll get into that. So, first off, there's the pilot. I mean, it's a pretty good pilot as far as pilots for television go.
Mhm.
It introduces us to some pretty neat characters. Alex Hirsch voices a monster that doesn't have a moving mouth, so that's pretty fun. And the BoJack's mom from BoJack Horseman plays a witch. So
Yeah, honestly, I really love this pilot. I loved how it set up all of the characters so well, and I don't know what about it, but it just hooked me into the show with just the first episode, and I just wanted to see more after that, and that it obviously did its job as a pilot really well.
I was interested in the Azure books, in all honesty. I was wondering who in the heck was the genius that wrote those? Because, like, is there like a whole other writing session that they have to see, like, what can Luce read that will get her into a wacky situation every other
Mm-hmm.
episode?
Oh, it probably had like a cork board and like a bunch of red string. It's just like, all right, where can we take this?
And then in the other corner, they have a whole thing that said, "Did the Simpsons do it?"
The answer is yes, always.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 32 seasons on. Man, they're going strong.
Oh yeah.
So then there's episode 2, which it sure does exist in my opinion.
Yeah, not necessarily my favorite episode, but I really did like the message at the end that not it you're
You
it
have to
just had
carve out
such a
your
good
own
message.
path because if you like wait on
Exactly.
some prophecy, you're going to die waiting.
Mhm. Yeah, you don't need to wait for someone to tell you that you're the chosen one. You need to become the chosen one yourself.
Yep. Which
And
is
I
really cool
thought that
because
mhm.
Luce from here on out after this point makes all of her own decisions and faces all her own consequences, and I don't
Mhm.
think she would have done that if she hadn't been given that message by Ida.
Oh no, she wouldn't have. Honestly, I think what Ida said in this episode really stuck with her as a character, and obviously she's way better after.
Well, it kind of makes me wonder, where did Ida learn that? Because Ida's a reckless criminal. She's not exactly a lesson giver. Someone had to have told her that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's a season 2 or season 3 thing I hope that they pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's episode 3, who introduces my favorite character and favorite tsundere of all time, Amity Blight.
Absolutely, God, I love her so much. I at first, like when I first saw her, I was just like, "Ooh, what is she doing?" Because she was messing with my girl Willow.
Right?
It's honestly, it was such a great introduction for both both characters, really, and I love it.
Well, when I saw that scene, the only thing in my head that was going through was like Stephen King bully, Stephen King bully, Stephen King bully, Stephen King bully, Stephen King bully. I was like, this is the Stephen King bully that we have for the season. And then, but as I was rewatching it a couple weeks ago, I was like, huh, Amity isn't as much of a bully as I remember her being.
Right?
And then you actually like watch the rest of the episodes and you're like, "Oh, I see what they did there. They intentionally wrote her to not be a bully, but
Hmm.
they deceived us. They put
We've
Gus
been
or
tricked.
Emra and Edric on the illusion track in front of us for that episode."
Hmm.
Okay. Then there's episode 4, which is like the I get technically counts as a bottle episode because they're only in
Hmm.
the owl house, but uh I mean, it's a little interesting to see about Ida's curse. I think it's actually a really interesting plot device, but
Hmm.
I don't really like the magic in this show as much as everyone else does because you really can just kind of make anything out of nothing, and Ida's the only one that suffers.
Yeah, like I personally would like to see more down, like more consequences for magic, at least in this show, because the only person that faces consequences for using magic is Ida, and that's because of her curse.
Yeah,
And I'd like to see more drawbacks or more complexity to magic other than, oh, you can just do anything. Like there has to be something.
and they kind of try to whitewash that in a couple episodes later, where it's I think it was the first day where Principal Bump. I'm sorry, I love that name, Principal Bump. He's like, you can only do one coven, and then at the end of the episode, he's like, oh, you can do multiple covens, and you can have the whole like gay pride flag as your outfit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how, like, you just took back everything that you said. Like, how is this suddenly okay? Like, this has been the norm for like so long. Why is it suddenly now? Oh, you can do multiple covens.
My fan theory is that Azora told him to let loose be herself.
Hmm,
Well, because
maybe.
because in the pilot, Ida was talking about how an episode in the Azora books and like all kinds of creatures, including giraffes, which I thought was really strange, come from the Boiling Isles. So in my head, I'm wondering where did the Azora books come from? Who wrote them? Like, what's the author's name?
Mhm.
So
It's
if
just
they
like
have them on the
Gravity
Boiling
Falls all over
Isles,
again. Who's the author?
right? So my fan theory is that Azora herself is writing the books based on personal
Mhm.
experiences from her life and sending them through like in the direction of Luce to give her literal plot armor.
Fair. Honestly, that's a great theory. I didn't really think about who wrote the books, to be completely honest with you. I was just like, oh, it's there. And then I didn't really think about it much for God knows how long. And that is on me.
Well, I'm
Hmm.
a history buff, so whenever I see like a
Oh,
certain
yeah.
law that existed, I'm always like, who wrote that? Or why did they
Mhm.
write that? In this case, it's both. Why did whoever write the Azora books write them and who wrote them?
Yeah, that's completely valid. And now I need to look into that. Jeez.
Yeah, I haven't got much information out of it.
That's fair.
Well, then there's episode 5, which is absolutely legendary.
Yes, it's one of my favorites. God, okay. The animation between like the and I say this under quotes, fight between Lilith and Ida. God, it was so pretty.
That's called Sakuga animation. It's often used to shake the camera up a little bit, to often change the lighting or like filter it in some ways, so it looks more dramatic than it is.
Wow.
They do that a lot with like a lot of animation studios do that, including there's this studio called Titmouse, which they've been nicknamed the Lord of Shapes on Twitter. They do that a lot with a lot of their animated content.
Wow.
Okay, hold on. Your audio is like kind of spiking out.
Okay. Is this better?
Sort of. Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's much better. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, episode 5. Well, I think it's just cool how much world building they put in that episode because, like,
Mhm.
I actually had a lot of questions about like how many covens there were. Turns out there's a coven for everything. Also, that conspiracy theorist, I'm positive, is a Boiling Owl's version of Goku.
Oh, probably. Mm, honestly, yeah. I would love to see how many like covens and stuff that there were before the emperor came in and sort of took over and started blowing things down to how it is now. And I just love to see how magic worked before everything. uh Before, like, the emperor and like all the stuff that we have recently. I just love to see what it would look like before that.
Well, yeah, there's this little detail I actually saw. You know how in the credits Luce takes that like slow walk and then she's like kicks a ball and there's like kids building a castle? Well, that's the Emperor's castle.
Really?
Yes. Dana, the creator, actually confirmed that on Twitter. She actually didn't notice that until she was watching it with her boyfriend.
That is awesome.
Also,
I
she confirmed
also
that
didn't
Amity
notice
dyes
it.
her hair green.
Glorious. I mean, as she should. She looks amazing with it.
Well, I'm confused as to why, because Amity seemed to look fine as a child, even though that pink filter that Willow had, the pink Instagram filter in Understanding Willow, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she looked fine before. I don't know why she's dying it now. And then in my head, I'm thinking probably her parents, because she'll look more like Emma and Edric that way.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think she's trying to look more like Emma and Edric, or she's trying to fit in more along with them. Uh, not, and it could also be her parents trying to, you know, get her to be more in within their standards.
Yeah,
But
they want.
yeah,
Yeah, I think they want her to be the kid that Emma and Edric never were,
mm-hmm.
because clearly they never were. Oh yeah, then
Oh
there's
yeah,
episode
obvious.
6, Hootie's Moving Castle, which is a Howl's Moving Castle reference, and I am a hardcore Ghibli fan, so I was so happy when I read that.
Yes, I know it was fantastic. Honestly, when I first saw the episode title, it took me a second to connect the dots. It was just like, okay, that sounds familiar. I walked away for a second, then I walked back. It's like, wait a minute, that I am a little slow.
Oh, whatever. Well, and I noticed that the Boiling Isles makes a lot of references to stuff that happens like just in the real world. Like Hexus Hold'em is clearly a variation of Texas Hold'em, the card game.
Oh,
So, and
really, it is.
I actually really like the like world building with like the market and such, because I always figured there was probably like a black market or a dark market or whatever the Boiling Isles would call it, but I didn't know it was to the extent where we would have a Gideon knockoff. I'm sorry, I hate that character. What is his name?
Uh,
I forgot his name. I just had it. What is it? Oh my god.
Tibbles? No,
Yes!
no,
That
Tibbles.
mofo, Tibbles. I hate that guy.
Oh, God, I don't blame you. God, he got on my nerves. I didn't
Gideon
even
at least
bother
had the
to look up
decency
his
to be
name.
regularly evil. This guy's just annoying.
That's it. Like he's not even evil. He's just a pain in the side. That's it.
And honestly, you know what I love about Gideon in Gravity Falls? He won. He actually got the Mystery Shack.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like he may have been annoying, but like he wasn't downplayed. He actually went through and got his plan, and he actually won. It not in the end, obviously, but like he still won and pulled through. So no matter how much of a annoying jerk he is, you still had to take him seriously because he did win.
Mm-hmm. Especially since he had that fascination with Mabel that never seemed to went away, and there's not really a
Oh yeah.
character connection in between this. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I think Dana's playing her hand a little with the Gravity Falls references,
Mm-hmm.
but whatever. Then there's episode 7, which is absolutely legendary. We meet Amity's siblings, and they are exactly what I picture them to be.
Oh yeah, honestly.
Like down
I,
to the green hair too.
wow, you really had a perfect mental image of them, didn't you?
Yes, except for their voices. I pictured
Oh,
her
true.
brother's voice to be higher for some reason, kind of like Deku in My Hero Academia.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about, like a Justin Briner kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, honestly, like I hated them, but I loved them. But I have a love hate relationship with them, really, because like they are fun characters. Like they're so fun to watch, but like part of me is just like, oh, why do you do this?
Well, see, they honestly remind me of Sam Puckett from iCarly, just because of how reckless they are. And that's what makes them so fun, because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of recklessness in this world, when it's contained, can be very fun. But then when you have something like the Wailing Star incident, where things come to life, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's when things can go bad real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely understand. Like recklessness is fun, but you need to be like a little bit responsible with it, otherwise everything just kind of falls apart.
Plus, that was the first episode where we actually heard Amity laugh for the first time, so that holds a special
Oh,
place in my heart.
so pretty. Oh God, and I love her. She's great.
Yes.
But yeah.
Also, she has a secret room behind the romance section. I
God,
didn't notice
I
that until
wish.
I was editing my video for it a couple months ago.
But honestly, I didn't really notice what section it was in. I just noticed, obviously the obvious that she had a secret room, but the fact that it was in the romance section just really solidifies my personal headcanon that she is just a hopeless romantic. She just is. Let's be honest.
I think that as well. I think the issue was until Luce, she was probably lonely.
Oh, probably.
Like,
Honestly, and I think
like,
she probably read like those romance stories to feel less alone.
yeah, kind of like what Luce does, whereas like she reads the Azora books to kind of get away from like reality of people not accepting her for her weirdness, whereas Amity can get away from like that whole, like the reality that she can probably never be with someone that she really wants to be with, and can probably only be with people that her parents want her to be with.
Hmm.
Again, Little Miss Perfect. We, the Owl House fans, claim that song as our national anthem.
Yes, absolutely. I blast that song at least once a week.
12 a.m. every night. It's unhealthy. I know. Well, at 3 a.m., I have to eat my Krabby Patty.
You're not wrong. All right, so what's at 2 a.m.?
Tier 15.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I totally improvised that on the spot.
That's fair.
Okay, so next episode. What? Oh yeah, Once Upon a Swap. I hate this episode. I don't even hate it with a passion. I just genuinely hate this episode.
Yeah, honestly, not one of my favorites. Like, I don't hate a single episode of the show, but like,
It's clearly the
it
weakest.
it is. It's the weakest link.
Right.
I
I,
just,
I hate this because it's the weakest.
mm-hmm. Well, it's
Like,
understandable,
yeah, it's the left pinky toe. It's not necessary.
right? Or my two extra ribs. I don't need them. I have them, but I don't need them.
I'm just gonna ignore that.
Okay, that's fair.
Well, I think the main issue with this episode is that it really does bend the rules that the show has been very careful about setting up, like not messing with the law, keeping Ida's magic contained, making sure King is actually safe because he's actually a really, 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 really weak creature.
Yeah, like it just kind of like, okay, I know that we set up all of these rules that everybody has to follow, otherwise something will go bad. But what if we like push the line a little bit? Nothing's gonna happen, but like let's just push the line.
Yeah, then Luce gets arrested. King hangs out with Basha and kind of takes them over like communist China because all he was loud. Essentially, he was the 2016 presidency. He was just loud. That was all it took.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it was.
And then what happened to? Oh yeah, Ida got kidnapped or catnapped, whatever King is. I don't know.
Something.
I'm pretty sure he's a Pokemon. I honestly think in my head canon, King is a Pokemon.
Yeah, no, that tracks.
Why else can't he
Absolutely, I
speak?
can see that. Hmm?
Why else can't he speak with his mouth? He has a mouth. We saw him eat a cupcake with it in convention.
He just can't. He's just like, actually, funny thing, what I had canon, the skull itself is actually not. It's just like a mask that he just wears all the time. He can take it off, but like but he has like his jaw. Whenever he needs to like eat, he can open it up at any time. But like he doesn't need to like actually open it up in order to talk. So like that's how I personally see it. However, I could be 110% wrong.
Well, I mean, in this world that's so big, I feel like that's probably one of the questions that's not going to get answered until the fourth season. That will inevitably be the last because Disney doesn't know when to keep a good show going.
I know, right?
They canceled DuckTales in its third season.
Like why? Like that was so good. Like come on, we can just keep it going, man.
If we ever do this again, we're going to have to talk about Della Duck sometime. She is like my favorite person ever.
Yes, I am so down. I love Della.
Okay, wait, where were we? Oh yeah, episode 9. What was
Episode
that?
9.
Like Sense and Insensitivity? No. Something Ventured, Someone Framed. The Gus episode.
Mm-hmm.
We got a couple great stabs at the presidency with a crown that says president. I'm sorry, I love that. I just love that there
Yeah.
is a crown that says president and it's for a school activity.
Yes. Honestly, that made my day. I just saw them bring out the crown. It's just like, that's great.
Also, detention is scary as frick.
Oh, yeah. I listen, I only went to detention once, but it was nothing like that. Oh, dear.
Well, I
like,
mean, yeah, I mean, they kind of turned you into whatever the heck they turned you into in Force Unleashed too. So, yeah.
like, I just kind of want to ask, like, I know that this is a completely fictional world with completely fictional rules, but like, who thought that this was okay? Those kids were clearly traumatized, and like the kids in detention, they were clearly traumatized, and
You will
like,
be a good student. I will be a good student.
like who thought that this was okay? Principal Bump, was that you?
No, it was probably whatever Coven looks after. Probably Lilith. It was probably Lilith's idea.
Oh yeah, honestly, that tracks.
Although this episode did give us some neat little insight into Ida's career as a school student. She sucked,
Mhm.
but was clearly a blast back when she was young, back in her
Mhm.
glory days and glory days.
Honestly, I really liked this episode for Ida specifically, mainly because even though she could have easily just said no to Luz, she could have just said no. I'm not letting you go to Hexside. I'm a perfectly good teacher. I don't want you to go there, and she could have avoided all of her like confrontation about her past. But she put all of that aside and she went through all of that, even though it was just like cleaning stuff up from when she came here. But she went through all of that for Luce. And that just made me so happy.
I think we need to recognize the underrated MVP of that episode, Hootie. He's the one that convinced Ida to do it. He was like, "All I know is you taught me, and I turned out just fine." Then he tried to eat a bug, failed, and Ida was like, "I got to get that girl into school." I'm sorry, my voice is broken. I can't do. I can sometimes I can do Hootie's voice, but today I can't.
I understand. But no, that was great. I
Ow, that hurt a little.
I don't blame you. Honestly, Hootie, he needs to see a chiropractor because he's carrying the entire show.
Yes. Well, I mean, he's a house, so technically he doesn't have a spine. Or did you take his
Okay,
already?
fair. Fair. Listen, his foundation needs a break.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, that's also another question I have. How long has Hootie been there?
I have no idea. I personally, I think the entire time the house was built. That's what I would like to think.
So, like Monster House? Someone died in there and he just came too?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Huh. Well, wouldn't be Disney if they didn't rip off somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, then there's episode. What are we on now? 11?
10. Yeah, 10. It's
Yes, 10.
Escape of the Palisman.
Palisman. Yeah, this is the Albert episode. I thought this episode was kind of lacking a little in terms of the side character. I don't know why Willow and Gus had to be there. They were ultimately useless for the whole episode.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been really funny, in my opinion, is if Willow and Gus had gone to the game and they were like, "Oh, it's gonna be super boring." Luz had that whole adventure, and then Willow and Gus come back to the owl house with like a whole creature, and they're like, and Luz is like, "What happened to you guys?" And they just go, "Today was fun."
Honestly, I would have paid to see that. That would have been great. And then we could have got like a little bit of a cut in between, like she's going on her adventure and like they're at the game, and then they're just like, "Oh man, this is actually really fun." Oh wait, no, no, no. Actually, how I would have liked this to play out: Luce goes on her adventure, and when she comes back, she says, "What happened to you guys?" They Willow and Gus just kind of look at each other, and then there's just like several jump cuts showing what happened, and then they look, and it's just like, yeah, no, it was actually fun.
Oh, like that scene in Kung Fu Panda when Poe's trying to get into the stadium, but he keeps getting out.
Yeah.
That would be perfect. I got about $100 in my wallet right now. I'd pay money to see that.
Oh, absolutely. I got like 75. We can team up.
Yeah, I'll try and track down Steven Sugar or Alex Hirsch, and maybe they can draw us like a whole animatic.
Sounds great.
I don't know where he lives. Oh
Mm,
well, I'll use
we'll
I'll
find
use
out.
my sir to find him.
Don't worry, we'll find out.
Yeah. Yeah. Coming up next on Asking for a Friend, the Alta Burrito gets arrested and TheVertabraeDeity only has $75, so she can't pay for the lawyer. Danny DeVito comes in. What'd you say?
That checks out. Honestly, that seems like something that we would do.
Yeah. All right, so then there's what is it now? Episode 11. Oh yeah, the knockoff of Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really like this one because it actually does tackle a really serious issue within a lot of writers' communities, like specifically towards credit. I feel like credit goes through a lot of mishaps, especially for like television shows. A lot of people don't really get the credit they deserve. Like in my videos, I compliment Dana Terrace all the time, but and I compliment like the sound effects people for whenever I see something scary. But like, I always forget to compliment like the director or like the staff writer or like a certain animator that worked on a certain shot. Like, for the love of
Yeah.
God, I cannot remember the one storyboard artist that worked on Spinell's animation and early development of Steven Universe the movie, but I always compliment Rebecca Sugar for inventing the character.
Yeah. It's hard to give credit for an entire thing because it takes a lot of people and a lot of influence just to make that one thing. Like, for example, a single shot of animation has like storyboard artists who actually plan it out. You have writers who actually write the original thing. You have like keyframes, animators, and like in between animators and colorists and like everybody. So it's hard to give credit where credit is due.
Oh, and you also got the
And
line producer that won't shut up about how much money they spent.
right, or the money manager that's telling the guy to shut up because they actually didn't spend that much.
In Solar Opposites Season 2, in the pilot episode, there was this build up to this big fight, but instead of animating it, they just cut to a note from the creator to their producer, Sydney Ryan, that just said, "Hey, Sydney, can you contact Hulu for $1 million so we can do a big fight scene?"
That is perfect.
Oh, yeah, and Ida and Lilith had their own little mission on this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it kind of reminds me of the prequel episode of Lucifer, where Lucifer and Amenadiel try to find Amenadiel's bracelet, or whatever the heck. I don't know if you've seen that show. It's actually really funny.
I actually have not. It's on my list though. I'm gonna watch it after Criminal Minds.
Nice. I need to find Brooklyn Nine-Nine now that I'm thinking about it. I finally finished Walking Dead, and I went
Mm-hmm.
to freaking, like, I don't know where it is, like Poland or something, so I could find the season 10 episodes. But I need to find Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine is actually on Hulu.
Oh, that's
So,
easy.
woohoo!
Anyway, so yeah, fun episode, good laughs. Eden and Lilith had some fun times. No Sakuga animation. That's fine. Episode 12. What was it? Oh yeah, the Amity episode with the magic. They have wands.
Yeah,
Training
no.
training wands. I think that's hysterical.
Like we've seen what they were able to do without wands, and like it's like now it's just like, okay, here, take this. It's yours now.
They also have batteries, which I think is hysterical. There's also a
I
lot of really great lines of dialogue throughout this episode. They're not
know.
like I specifically love Ida's whole like I specifically love how this episode actually tells us that Ida is a competent teacher. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely.
And it really helps within the like later portion of the episode when Luce really does doubt herself and go upon her own instincts rather than following what Ida told her. And then when she does do what Ida tells her, she ultimately gets much better.
Mm-hmm.
But I think probably the most underrated moment in the whole show is when Emra, Edric, and Ida get kidnapped by whatever Colossus from Shadow of the Colossus was in this episode, and then Amity's yelling at Lucy, he's like, "Stay back! You'll only get hurt, not you'll get in my way," which is like the most underrated line of dialogue in anything. Fight me. She actually
Oh no!
cares.
I'm not going to fight you. I agree. Honestly, that line fantastic. I really do love the dialogue in this episode. I can't exactly pinpoint direct quotes like you did just then, but I it felt so real. Like this is granted, like it's in a fantasy world, but like
Right.
this is like real interactions that I would have with people that I know, and granted, it not like to the book, and like I'm not gonna be in like a dangerous situation, of course.
Oh,
Hopefully,
I
I should
will.
knock
Give me a month.
on right. But it just it just felt really genuine and not something forced or scripted, and I personally love that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like just a whole like staple for the like whole show itself. Barring episode
Mm-hmm.
8, most of the like pretty much everything after episode 8 feels earned, especially for Luce.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Absolutely.
Ida cheats every once in a while, but that's in her character. Whereas with Luce, pretty much everything that she accomplishes feels earned, genuine, and ultimately she becomes stronger because of it, which I will
Mm-hmm.
bring up again in this discussion. So, what episode
Absolutely.
13, the first day. This one kind of didn't do it for me, simply because in the previous episode, like episode 9, I think it was, Bump said that Luce could join next semester, but it's summer.
Yeah, it honestly, I when I first watched this, I it didn't really make a lot of sense, and it still doesn't. Maybe semesters work differently there, but like it's just it's so off-putting because it's just okay, you said next semester, but now all of a sudden we're here at Hexside
Four
and
episodes later.
she's exactly, like only 4 episodes. And I feel like we could have had a bit more time away from that and then get her into Hexside, and it would have felt a lot more natural. But it just felt like boom, she's in. It's just like, oh, okay, I guess we're here now.
Well, it does get through some pretty interesting stuff. Like, I actually think that whole like detention scam that those kids were running was actually really interesting because I think it's really nice to know that Luce isn't the only one who's like alone in this whole process of wanting to be different. But
Mm-hmm,
when you rewatch that, it almost makes you wonder, why didn't she have that in the human world?
mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, like I personally, just from what I've been thinking about, I just personally think that she was by herself, other than with her mother. But I think for the most part, she was by herself in the human world.
Her mom
And
is the most underused character in the whole show.
I know, like we could have seen so much more from her. Granted, we couldn't because obviously for obvious reasons, they're in a different world. But I really would have loved to see her used more or talked. Maybe talked about isn't really the right word, but it was that her character was more utilized.
Mentioned, I think, is what you're looking for.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, because I remember the we saw her in like the first episode, and then Luce gave her that really sweet text that said that she was gonna like it in the Boiling Isles, and then we don't see her again until like episode 16.
Hmm. Yeah, like um Luz's mother is supposed to be really important to her, and she's barely talked about throughout the entire run. And maybe it's just something that she's bottling up, so we don't get to see it as much. But I wish that she would have at least like mentioned her mom. Like maybe she when she was like walking through the convention site and
That would
saw
have been cool.
something, she would,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
she would have.
the text message about how about how her mom was going to their favorite snack place was like chimichurri sandwiches or something. Well, there was like there was like a food coven or something that would have been interesting to see. Like if Luce had taken a picture of that on her phone, that for some reason still works.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I wish that she would have reached out to her mom more and at least like updated her, even if she wasn't going to be able to see the messages, or at least maybe she would have written something down and say, "Hey, mom, I'm actually doing great here. Please don't worry." I thought that would have been so sweet,
Well,
but they
that's
really didn't do
the main
that.
reason why I love Hilda so much is because Hilda and her mom Johanna have a really great rapport with each other in season 1, and it furthers
Hmm.
in season 2. But they ultimately resolve it by the end, and while it's not fixed, it gets better. It portrays a very human relationship between a mother and a daughter,
Absolutely.
which is a huge missed opportunity for this show, considering how great all the other characters are.
Hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like they really missed out on that, and I would have loved to see their relationship more.
Yeah. All right, episode 14. Really
Really, really.
small problems. I have
Yeah.
my problems with this episode are not small in the slightest, but the only reason why I can say this episode is definitively better than Once Upon a Body Swap is simply because King is genuinely funny. That's really it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Other than that,
Like,
Tibbles is not necessary. The jealousy thing was solved in episode like 10, I think, and Willow and Gus didn't need to be there again.
yeah, like honestly, I did not like this episode. I honestly did not. King, he saved it for me. Mainly because, obviously it's King, but I Willow and Gus were criminally like not necessarily underused, but like I think their characters would have benefited a lot more by not being there because obviously they were just more like the audience. They were just they just weren't necessary. They were just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah, the
And
third and fourth wheel.
right? Talk like listen, a third wheel is bad, but four? Oh dear.
Yeah, Luce already knows how to ride a bike to my knowledge, so yeah, these guys are the training wheels in this show.
Mhm.
Which
Yeah,
is which kind of sucks because you would think that almost 15 episodes in, the show wouldn't have problems like that, considering how every episode after this episode is awesome.
mhm. Honestly, like I I just wish that they better implemented Willow and Gus as characters because really they they are a lot like the audience in these few episodes. They aren't really doing anything on their own. They're just sort of tagging along just to be there, I guess. But they really don't get to do much on their own until like later episodes. But like, it's just come on, please. Like,
Especially Willow. Willow is such an MVP.
I know, right?
Yeah. Speaking of Willow, episode 15, Understanding Willow. This episode, in my opinion, has the best writing among any episode of the season.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
Like I really enjoy the episode's introduction to how like Basha is always picking on everyone, but then she's putting like these freaking disgusting talons on her nails, just like supposedly making her awkward and shunning her. And then there's that little tribute to Mariposa from Star vs. the Forces of Evil by having Skara give out invitations via butterfly. So
That was
and
great.
and then they further that then they like contrast that scene with Willow and Luce having a thumb war, which is the oldest game in the history of anything, since as far as I know, everyone born with thumbs, disabled or not, can still have a thumb war.
Oh, absolutely.
And then they like further talk about this. Amity says something narcissistic or not narcissistic, pessimistic, and then they go to photo class. And also, I think that photography teacher is hysterical. Like just the way she's like, be extremely careful, and it just walks off screen out of nowhere.
Yeah, like it just gives one huge warning and then we never see her again.
Yeah.
I
Next
mean, we
scene.
do see her
Next
again.
scene. The photos are on fire.
Like she's not even there to supervise. She's just like, don't mess it up. But I'm not going to tell you how not to mess it up. You're just going to have to find out for yourself. And then she walks away.
Also, this episode has my favorite line from Willow, the line where she says like "out of sight, out of mind." Also, it's revealed she has two dads, which I'm not really for that kind of thing, but I thought it was really cool to see.
Honestly, I thought it was nice. Like, uh, granted, I like how they introduced it. Like, I, it was just brought up and it's felt natural, like how it would have come up in everyday life.
Yeah,
So
which
I
wait,
really
does
did
that
like
mean gay
that.
marriage came from the Boiling Isles?
I mean,
Oh, that's something else. My mind just blew up. I think what's really cool about this episode is how it actually really manages to fix Amity as a character, because up to this point, she's just been this weird little girl and semi tsundere, but still has had this weird divide in between Luce, Amity, and Willow simply because the two of them are technically enemies. But
mhm.
in this episode, they fix that by Amity actively trying to make something worse, but instead makes it better with Luce's help, of course, because that's what Luce does. And
Oh yeah.
what I think really hits home for me is that scene, like where Willow walks up with Little Willow, and then Amity kind of like waves. See, I would start crying, but then the camera pans
Aw.
over to Luce bawling her eyes out, and I just start laughing hysterically.
I know, right? Like honestly, it was such a sweet scene. And then Luce crying, that sent me, man. That was great.
Yeah.
Like
Like
she
I
was
really
just
don't
like
think that
all of
was one
us.
of the I really don't think that was one of those things that they should have ruined with comedy, but at least it was funny.
Oh yeah. Like personally, I would have just kept it a really sweet scene and moved on. But at least with since they ruined it, they at least ruined it well. So then, like, you don't really hate it afterwards. You just like, oh, okay, now it's funny.
Yeah, if you're gonna roll around in dirt, at least make sure it tastes like chocolate.
Exactly.
If it
Wonderful
doesn't taste
saying,
like
by the way.
chocolate,
Love
it's
it.
probably not dirt.
Probably.
Okay, then there's my personal favorite episode of all time, episode 16, Enchanting Grand Friday. Oh my god, this is such an amazing episode of television.
Yes, it was. God, it personally, I do have another favorite, but it this one is up there for me. It's
Oh
such a
yeah.
good episode. It is, as you've said before in one of our other conversations, it is a love letter to Amity and Loose fans.
Lumity fans, such as me. Well,
Lucy.
mainly because I
Yes.
think I think that it does a really good job of balancing Luce's internal struggles with the desires of what she's trying to do now. It kind of reminds me of have you seen the Midnight Gospel?
No, I have not.
Really good show. Well, in that show, the main character Clancy, he's actually avoiding a lot in his life by doing the podcast that he does, whereas Luz is trying to avoid something by simply literally running away from it and going to a whole other world to learn magic. But in this episode,
Mm-hmm.
they actually kind of like give insight a little as to why Luce is semi afraid to talk to her mom. But then they do it in the most psychologically horrifying thing I have seen since Invader Zim Dark Harvest. That
Right.
Grom scene, like it wasn't enough that they had to put this deformed hell version of Ida in there. They just put in her mom, just being like, Miha, have you been lying to me? With that demonic voice that sounds like freaking Lucy from Disenchantment. Oh my gosh, it was creepy.
Oh, it was so creepy, but it worked so well. At least for what they were trying to do, they really pulled it off.
Well, see, here's the best part for me. Luce never actually conquered her fear. That's what makes this episode for me, is that, sorry, kids, sometimes you can't win. But what seals it for me, and I cry every time when I see this, is that now that I know what the letter said, is that every time I see that like form of Grom breaking Amity's letter and then just dropping it onto the ground in form of, I'm like, oh, rip my heart out while you're at it. Oh,
Right?
Maddie already took my spine. What more do you want?
I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna rip my heart out, at least put it on a silver platter. Like,
Please.
I deserve that much at least.
At the very least, make it stop beating.
Exactly.
Well,
Be too creepy.
oh yeah, and then there's that amazing dance scene, which honestly looked like it cost 10% of the budget to make that. Like it looks so pretty.
Yes.
And then
I
they
honestly.
utilize all the magic. And then King
Oh yeah.
having stage fright actually humanizes him a little, and I really like
Mm-hmm.
that because it endears him a lot more to the audience because he's been kind of an asshole throughout the season.
Oh, he has. He's totally been an asshole. But I really found it like so sweet, like how he was afraid, and like my heart went out to him. It's just like, oh my god. And also on the whole dancing, like I literally was watching it and I said aloud, "Well, that's where the budget went." And of course, this was before like the later episodes, but it was
Yeah.
just like, huh, this is where it went.
Yep. Love that one. And I also really like the ending. Well, I like the first ending. There's like three endings in this episode. The first ending is the part where Luce has that really neat passing imagery where she's sitting at the owl house window and she's like talking to her mom and like how she's going to tell her everything when she comes home. And then you see like all her friends having fun. You see like Ida taking a nap because she's old, and King sleeping on her, and like Amity taking off her Grom crown and putting it in that chest, which I really want to know what's in there. And
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the second ending, and this ending kind of pissed me off because like it answers the question as to why Luce's mom hasn't been worried, because we see those letters from what fans have described as creepy Luce. What the? Oh, hold on, my phone is ringing.
You're fine.
Uh, uh, it, Mom. Oh, yes. Okay. Hold on. I gotta go. I gotta go let my stepdad back in. He locked himself out apparently.
I understand. I'll be right here.
Yeah. On the Jeopardy theme.
I swear, if he keeps my terrible singing in the video, I'm gonna cry. Welcome back.
I'm honestly not even going to edit that out just because it was kind of funny.
Thank you. Know, I'm not sure if you were able to hear me, but like, I was just singing the Jeopardy theme, and then at the end, it's just like, I really hope that he doesn't keep that in the video.
I mean, maybe I'll keep this part of the video in, but maybe I'll edit out the other part just for fun.
Oh no, that's fine.
Well, okay, so we just talked about episode 16. On to the next episode, which was episode 17. This is the funniest episode of the season, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. It is. The
There's a lot of
comedy was
great
on
comedy.
point.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of great comedy just like even before the Amity shenanigans. Like, I specifically love that one joke where it's like, oh, come on, Basha can't follow us around all day. And then it jump cuts and they've got like garbage all over them. And then Lucy's like, they followed us all day.
God, that was great.
And then Gus had his flags on an IV. I'm sorry, I was dead 6 feet under in a like wooden coffin. Like he had flags on an IV. Why do they have IVs in the boiling aisles?
Yeah, I was gonna say, why are they here? Like, how did he even get access to an IV?
Maybe it's part of his illusions.
Oh yeah, probably.
I mean,
that
he is a part of
sense.
the like Human Appreciation Society, so him knowing what an IV looks like isn't impossible.
Okay, that is actually very true. However, what I was gonna say is there like a medical wing and like medical classes that you can take at Hexside to where you'd be able to like sneak in and grab one? And like,
they have boo boo buddies.
Very true. That's very true.
Well, this episode actually gives me more incentive to hate Basha because she couldn't even be a good sport.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I just love Luce's outburst after that knockoff golden like snitch from Harry Potter after they catch him there, and Luce is like, Why are we playing the rest of this game? That invalidates literally everything we've been trying to do." Which is my point. Every time I watch Harry Potter, I'm like, catch the golden thing. No wonder you people lose.
Right? Like, come on. Like, that's what you want to do. Like, you just catch the golden thing. That's
it. And then
like, they don't even need the rest of it. Just catch the golden thing.
Well, see, here's what I really like about this episode, because it actually singles out Basha, and it actually gives me more incentive to hate her. Like, I was thinking about making a video of, like, explaining all the reasons why I'm allowed to hate Basha, but truth be told, just watch the episode, and it'll just perfectly explain to you why Basha is the Stephen King bully that everyone should hate, and that everyone else is just fine. Like, I especially love that scene, like right after they lose the game, when like all of Basha's so-called friends, they all come up to Willow and they're like, "Hey, that was a good game. Would you like to be part of the team?" And then Willow politely declines, probably out of fear.
Probably.
I really want to know where her nickname Half a Witch came from.
Honestly, me too. I couldn't really connect the dots on that one. I would like to hear the story about that. Like, how? Like,
that's a season 2 thing. I can wait.
Oh, absolutely, it is. We'll find out eventually.
I hope so, because they made that a pretty important like plot point in the previous episodes when mentioning it.
Mm-hmm.
So then there's the glorious episode 18. They should have been finale of the Owl House, but it's actually not. Agony of a Witch. Mm-hmm. This is your favorite episode, right?
Yes, this is my favorite episode. Honestly, I cry both times that I watched the show. I cried at this episode. Like, it just hurt a lot.
I was honestly expecting the show to ruin it with emotion. I mean, with comedy, like they had done in the previous episodes with freaking what's it, Lost in Language with the babies, those adorable babies, and then with Understanding Willow with Luce's Webby face from DuckTales, and then there's And then there's this where they actually let the realism of the situation sink in. But I just love how much of a badass Ida is, and she just shows up like psych and throws the whole staff at Lilith. And they really should have thrown in, you missed. Yeah, I know.
Yes. Yes, please. I would have paid to see that. But I think the reason why it hit so much harder is because they allowed it to have like the emotional weight of just everything that happened. They didn't try to play it off. They didn't try to quickly move on. They let it sink in that oh shit, this is actually happening.
Well,
And I
oh, go ahead, go
yeah,
ahead.
I I that's just what made me love it so much. It
Well,
yeah.
yeah. What makes me love it is the little details, like
Mhm.
specifically regarding Ida's curse. Like, there's this. First of all, Hootie kicking the crap out of the Emperor's Coven is is such a high note for the season that it has to be mentioned.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, it does.
And then there's the whole thing with Ida in the first place and her curse, and Lilith's reveal. Lilith's reveal, like that, the way she screamed too, as if she was proud of it. Wow,
Wow.
like just she must have had some real hatred for Ida bottled up that must have manifested over those years. It's like, you can't even beat me at my worst. Like, I just love so many lines of dialogue. And it's,
Mhm.
by the way, I think we all knew that Ida was going to get screwed over if she did join the Emperor's Coven, but it feels kind of weird on the writer's part for Lilith not to know.
Mhm. I really, honestly, really did. I personally, I knew that Lilith was totally going to get screwed over, but I think the reason why Lilith didn't know that is because she was so focused on her goal of trying to fix the curse and get it removed that she just didn't care or didn't care to even look into it. She just knew, okay, if I keep doing this, I will be able to undo this. But it just she didn't really think about realistically what would happen. Is the emperor really going to pull through for her? Because obviously not. Like it's the emperor. Like, but she was just so focused on trying to undo what she did. She just kept on going.
What honestly really hits home for me in that episode is not Ida's speech. Ida's speech almost made me cry, but I couldn't cry because I was like really worried at the situation that she was in. So I was like, "Come on, pull through, pull through, pull through." And then I saw Albert flying loose out of there, and I see her walk back to the owl house like she does in the credits, and then you hear King, "It was me. I was in the cake all along. Where's Ida?" And then Luce breaks down on the floor. That is what gets me
God,
because
that
I
killed
think
me.
Luce it knows that in some weird way it was her fault.
Mm-hmm. It's either that where she internalized it a lot that she thinks that it really was her fault because if she didn't get captured or mixed up into all this, Ida wouldn't have to save her. And especially when Luce was falling and almost hitting the spikes, Ida's magic ran out because she tried to save Luce from the spikes.
Right?
And
Like, she was simultaneously trying to stop the curse, but as soon as she saw Luce falling, she immediately stopped and let the curse take over.
mhm, yeah, and I think that is that itself for both characters is such a pivotal moment because um Ida, she for the longest time she only focused not necessarily on herself, but she was mostly by herself and she was content with that. But she really does care about Luce, and you get to see this throughout the entire show. She would do anything for Luce,
She
and
did. She
seeing
did
that,
everything for
and
Luce.
she did, and I, it just sunk in a lot, and it's just ah,
What a mom.
what a mom.
Yeah, Ida the Owl Mom. Get the t-shirts.
Oh, I'm ready. I'll print them out. I got this.
Yes. Oh, can you also get the Bad Girl Coven t-shirts out while you're at it?
Oh, absolutely. I'll design them. I'll get them printed. We got this.
Yes.
$5 a shirt.
Yes, we'll have our own Eric Cartman $1 million scheme.
Oh, always.
I just said that on camera. Right. I gotta go. Sorry, I gotta go contact a guy from GTA 5. He might be able to help me relocate all my important stuff.
Probably.
Anyway, I can do that once this is over. Anyway, then we have like well, actually wait, before we move on, I just want to say the Agony of a Witch really should have been the finale. It would have been perfect.
It would have been. Like, granted, I would have been. Okay, so if this were the finale, it would have been absolutely perfect. But have you seen NCIS?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't remember exactly which season, but there was one season where the ending of the episode was just Ducky having a heart attack on the beach. If this episode was the finale, I would have had the same feeling as I did when I saw Ducky have a heart attack on the beach, because like we have no idea if they're gonna be okay. And like it would have been like the perfect ending, but at the same time it would have been like, ooh,
Well,
yeah,
that would have officially that is what would have officially hooked everyone because I've been like in preparation for this video I actually watched a good bunch of YouTube videos like analyzing the finale about why it wasn't as good or why Agony of a Witch should have been the finale. But I think what really hits hard is that this episode really wants to be better than Agony of a Witch, and it's just not.
yeah.
Youngblood Old
It
Souls is kind of weird. Like they rushed a lot of things. Lilith's
they
redemption
did.
was super rushed. Luce did not have to go back to Earth. They could have just kept that fight on the Boiling Isles, and the door could have opened, and she could have seen home, but she didn't have to go through it.
Yeah, like she could have just saw home, but she could have just realized, okay, I I know that I have the chance to go home, but I can't do that just yet. I have more important stuff to take care of here. I don't know when I'll go home, but it's not now. And I think that would have paid off so much better than just walking through the door and having like the fight there. And it just would have paid off a lot more.
Yeah. And also, what kind of really sucks is that the fight between Luce and Bellos wasn't exactly hyped, but it felt really short.
It really did. It honestly felt like so short lived. Like, Bellows was,
He's the guy who took over the Boiling Isles,
yeah. And like,
and
it
a novice beat him?
obviously, yeah. Yeah, like, it's just, he took over the Boiling Isles, and one, as we just said, we just met him. And second of all, we only get to see him for like a short amount of time, and it's just like, okay, that's it. Like, this is the guy. And I know obviously he wasn't trying, because if he was really trying, he could have done a lot more. But it's just, if I don't know, it just felt so short lived.
I think it was underwhelming, but truth be told,
Yeah.
if that's their way of trying to hype us up for season two, I'm not looking forward to it as much as others. I mean, granted, when it comes out, I'm going to watch it twice a day for like as long as the season is out.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, as far as the stuff goes, I feel like they're just trying really hard to like have us be ready for season two. When really, we've been ready for season two ever since we found out it was greenlit.
Yeah. Like, they didn't need to pitch anything else. We were already sunk in. Like, we were already going to go through with it. But like, they were just like, all right, here, let's throw some more bait. I did already not hungry pack of wolves.
Yeah,
But like, yeah.
that
And
sums it up perfectly.
thank you. Honestly, this episode tried to tie up a bunch of loose ends in a bow, and it just kind of felt so rushed, really. Like, the whole thing with Lilith, like, I get it. I get it. They're trying to get at her redemption, but I wish that they would have paced it out so much more and had her earn it. And other than just saying, "Oh, okay, I realized that the Emperor just kind of ditched me, so now I'm going back with the good guys," and it's just like, come on.
Ultimately, I feel like a really good example of what you just described is in Cobra Kai season 3 with the character Hawk. Hawk is my favorite character in Cobra Kai just because of his redemption and his asshole arc.
Hmm.
He's got two parts throughout the show. He was a bully victim, but then he goes to Cobra Kai and he learns karate and he uses it to not just defend himself but become the bully. But then in
Hmm.
season 3, he then figures out like, oh wait, maybe this isn't the route I should be taking because then how does that make me better than the people who were kicking my butt?
Hmm.
See,
Yeah, I
if Lilith
completely
had a
get it.
revelation like that would have been cool. But no, what we got was, sorry, Lilith, I'm not going to help you, and I can't help your sister. That's it. That is
Yeah, that's
all we get. Like little details.
it.
Little details would have been amazing. Like Lilith's doubt. They could have advanced upon that, but no, it was just
Mhm.
there throughout episodes. Like I really liked Sense and Insensitivity when like Ida and Lilith are working together and then Lilith gives her up. That would have been cool if they had like given some sort of hint back to that, but no, they didn't.
No, they really didn't. And okay, how they handled Ida's curse though, it's it's off-putting. Like,
It was
sure, we get
so
to see.
powerful at the beginning of the season.
Mhm, it was, and like honestly, sure, we get to see like Lilith use that spell one time, but like, why didn't she do this at the very beginning? If that would have helped, and like, it took a lot of the weight away from Ida's curse because granted
Affected.
she's still heavily affected by said curse, but it's just we had this huge moment in episode 18 and I feel like we kind of lost that power because of Lilith, and I say this in air quotes, curing her.
Yeah,
And
curing.
yeah, it left a bad taste in my mouth, to be completely honest.
That's fair.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, as honestly, if this is the price we have to pay for a really phenomenal like rest of the season, I'll take it. I'll take it for
Oh
season
yeah,
2, 3,
absolutely.
and 4. Well, not 4. I want a really good finale for 4.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, if the track record stands of how Disney ends shows, season finale for 4 better be good.
Well, if
Absolutely
the
has
track
to
record
be.
for the production of the show has is going to continue, then that means we're going to get about maybe 60 episodes of the whole show
Wow.
because they produced 19 and they got approved for a second season when the first one premiered. So they're
Hmm.
probably going to get a couple more episodes to play around with. It may even get the same
Yeah,
amount as DuckTales. Who knows?
hopefully.
Now that DuckTales is
But
gone, they'll have to spend that money somewhere.
right, Lord knows Disney has enough of it.
Yeah,
But
like I
yeah.
keep hearing all these things about Disney layoffs. Disney's had money to burn for ages. They only just
Oh yeah.
started losing money in the live action remake department. And personally, that department can go burn in a fire.
Oh, absolutely. We do not need live action remakes. Like,
They're going to remake
why?
Pinocchio.
Oh God, really?
Yeah, but I mean the guy who wrote The Shape of Water is doing it, so I don't know, it might be good. Probably not
It
though.
might be.
I'm
Yeah.
really curious
Uh,
how they're going to handle the Pleasure Island scene. That's going to be interesting.
yeah, me too. I have no idea how they're gonna handle it.
So, yeah, The Owl House is a phenomenal show. I cannot wait for season 2. That's pretty much everything I could ask for in like the new age for Disney. I personally thought Disney cartoons were really just kind of gonna up and die, especially after how the Star season 4 finale kind of crashed and burned.
Hmm. Absolutely. Like, I just, I really hope that we get a lot more answers. I think answers is the right word. I think that uh, it would the show would benefit a lot more with uh, giving us not necessarily answers, but like more details on just what
We need
they've
follow
covered
ups.
before. Yeah, follow ups. And I think that we would benefit a lot more in the character department for Lilith, especially because yeah, I get it, Ida's sister, but I they could have done a lot more with her character than what they have done.
Yeah, they didn't even go for evil stepsister. They went for evil sister. I mean, I'm kind of glad for Disney for taking it one step up, but if you're going to try and pull an Amity on this girl, you got to go, pull an Amity on this girl and actually commit.
Exactly. Yeah, I think what makes a good redemption is that it's earned. Absolutely. Like Zuko, the best example is
Yes,
Zuko because
absolutely.
he earned every single second of his redemption. And
Because the best part
it's
was he
wasn't
didn't do it
straight line.
alone.
Yeah. And not only did he not do it alone, but when he was alone, he fell back because he didn't have that guiding voice that he had. And I really loved that because it really was just a it wasn't a straight line. It was a roller coaster of ups and downs until eventually he finally got where he was in the end.
Well,
And I think that's what. Mhm. Oh yeah,
I mean, he seemed to be happy at the very end. I forget what he looked like in Legend of Korra, but he seemed to be happy throughout the remainder of his life.
he
Like,
was. He
I
was.
mean, yeah, Zuko was a. I mean, I think it's a little unfair to compare Zuko to someone like Lilith because Zuko was taken
Okay,
in such a
yeah.
serious manner, and that also
Yeah.
took about 3 seasons worth of development. Whereas Lilith, they're gonna try and fix her in season 2 because they skipped the whole evil arc. They skipped the I'm sorry arc. They're all the way up to let's work together arc. They're already up to that. Avatar took 3 seasons to get to that point.
Yeah, you're
This,
right.
not so much. So it's a little unfair to compare them.
What I
Like,
would like for season 2 is while they're on the let's work together arc, I would like for trust specifically to be built. I I would like for the crew itself not to be very trusting of her so far because she did not so good things, obviously. The curse, biggest example of all.
mhm.
But I would like her to slowly build up trust within the group, and I think that's what would really save the character. Because yeah, sure, now they have to work together because they're curse bound, apparently, something along those lines.
Yeah.
But I would like to see her build up the relationship that she lost, and I would like to see her build up new relationships with Luce and the rest of the cast.
Well, yeah. Well, I think probably the first step, if they were going to do something like that, is I don't think that Lilith should immediately befriend Luce and all them, even though technically she did befriend them, but in my opinion, it was rushed. So they're probably gonna have to flesh that out a little bit. What I think she should do
Yeah.
is that she should try to make friends with the people that she oppressed in Bonesborough, aka the
Yes.
background characters.
Yes.
Like the conspiracy theory chick, if she could have one conversation with her, that development would help.
Yes. Absolutely.
Plus, we could get one of those 2 hours later jokes.
Yes. I would pay to see that.
And for a little YouTube censorship joke, the conspiracy chick could be like, "Wait till I tell you about voter fraud," and then Lilith's like, "Okay, I'm out."
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Honestly, that would be so good.
Well, yeah, I think season 2 could benefit with that. But what I really want to see more focus on is Willow. I really want to see a lot more focus on Willow. I think Gus had a lot of great opportunities throughout the season. I loved his moments with King and Enchanting Gromfry. I loved his development in episode 11, or what was it, 9. And I
Yeah.
personally, I love him as a character. I think he's hysterical. Like, I loved his reaction to the
Mhm.
high five in I Was a Teenage Abomination.
Yes.
And IV flags on an IV. I will never get over that. But yeah,
Honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I didn't notice the ID until I watched it the second time.
me neither.
It's just like, wait a
It
second.
wasn't
What's that?
until I recorded it for my video.
Fair. That's very fair.
Well, there were a lot of details
But
I didn't
yeah.
notice second time through. Like, I noticed something. The humans in this show don't have fingernails.
Huh.
Yeah, it was something weird I didn't notice until my second time through. But then I was watching the pilot. I'm like, wait, where are Luce's fingernails?
Like,
Huh.
loose. Something's wrong.
Yeah. Um. I mean, maybe that's how they draw with a straight circle. They don't have fingernails constricting them.
Right? Oh
Hmm.
man, I wish.
No, I like my
Like
fingernails
drawing a lot
personally.
easier.
I don't know. Looking at my whole finger can get annoying sometimes.
Right.
I mean, I'm an Irkin, so my fingers look weird.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Anyway, so you know what I would really like to see in season 2? Not just the like Azura books, but I would like to see Azura herself.
Hmm. I think that it would be really cool just to meet her, and even if it turns out she's not actually real and somebody made up the character
Like
Azura,
Wizard of Oz, that could be a whole Wizard of Oz shtick right there,
right? Like that'd be so cool.
just with more
I,
magic and probably the same scary freaking monkeys with wings.
yeah, that checks out. Hey man,
Uh,
at least their names were on point. Like flying monkeys, that's what they were.
what else am I supposed to call them? Minions? I can't call them minions. That's copyright right there. That's copyright infringement.
True. We'd lose a lot of money. Probably get sued.
I don't want to get sued by Illumination. Disney already keeps blocking every video I make. I keep having to deal
Right?
with them, so no thanks. Like
Yeah, I'd
Universal?
rather
No.
not. Ugh.
Like when
Rather
I
not
posted
deal
my
with them.
Enchanting Gromfright video, I did a sped up version of the dance scene as I narrated why the heck it was the best thing I had ever seen throughout the whole show, and they copyrighted it and blocked the whole video.
Oh wow.
So I sent my dispute. I'm like, Disney, this is like the 10th time you've done this to me. It's getting old. Also, Section 107 of the copyright, blah, 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 blah. And now it's still pending, and they haven't responded for like 15 days.
Wow. I hope that they respond soon, man. That sucks.
Well, they don't, because when the dispute ends, all the claims are lifted and monetization, and it's unblocked. So, yeah,
Yeah,
personally, I hope they don't
checks
ever
out.
respond. What I don't want to have to deal with is Warner Brothers. Like, Warner Brothers are the reason I lost my first channel.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I remember that.
Whatever,
Jeez.
whatever. Enough moaning about Warner Brothers. On to the season 2 fan stuff. Like, I want to see Azora, and honestly, I kind of want to know more about the Emperor's Coven. Like, I get that they're like serving the Emperor or whatever, but here's my fan
Yeah.
theory. I think that
Hmm.
when Bump pointed at Amity and said, "Someday one of you," referring to the Emperor's Coven, I think her parents have pre-chosen her career already,
Honestly, I can totally see that.
and that
I think.
scares me.
I think that they literally have her entire plan, like life plan, out for her specifically. Like she was gonna get straight A's. She was gonna work in abomination magic. She was going to become someone working in the Emperor's Coven,
She was going to be a blight.
and she had all. Yeah, and she has all of these expectations just thrown on her, and it just that that hits home a lot.
Communist China. I'm telling you, the Boiling Isles is an allegory to Communist China.
Yeah, probably. Honestly,
Why not?
I didn't
They
really
have
think
apparently they
about
have
honesty
education
yet.
24/7 even in the summer, like Communist China. All the young people seem to be taking over, like Communist China. And there seems to be only one person that has direct access to any history of the world's previous conditions, like Communist China.
Communist China. It's almost like they planned this out or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Well, it was in the creator's head for like 4 years, so yeah, that makes sense.
True.
5 now.
Oh wow, 5. Jeez,
Yeah.
time
Well,
flies.
well, it was after she started production for DuckTales as a director and an
Oh yeah.
executive producer, and said it wasn't really fulfilling her creatively. And then apparently Disney asked her to make a show. I'm pretty sure Alex Hirsch probably said, "Hey, can you give my girlfriend a show?" Which isn't a bad thing because her show is awesome. But yeah, he's kind of cool.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I just think just that thought is so funny. She's like, "Hey, yo, can you get my girlfriend a show? Asking for a friend."
Yeah. Oh man, I can only imagine how pitching the show must have gone.
Hmm.
Because, like, I can imagine pitching other shows, like Invader Zim. Here's your pitch. An alien gets outcast and he's too stupid to know, and his greatest superpower is that he'll never know that he'll fail. Oh, yeah, there's a kid chasing him on Earth. There, that's Invader Zim.
Yeah, that's the entire thing. I I would really pay. I would pay so much money to be in the pitch room when they were pitching this show, Just
I
like,
wouldn't.
so
That
what's it
that would
about?
probably be awkward.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what room I would like to see? I want to see the pitch for regular show. I really want to see the pitch for regular show.
Oh yeah, me too.
Like,
That would
imagine
have been so
asking
cool.
Cartoon Network to make a show about adults when the main consensus was that their target audience was children.
Hmm.
That's by the way, I have a lot of respect for regular show for being the first show to actually like say, "Oh, hey, look, we're adults and we don't really know what we're doing with our life, and we're fine with that."
Yeah, on it. That made me feel so much better about growing up and being an adult. Because they never knew what they were doing, but they were still fine, and they were still living their life how they wanted to. And I really took that to heart, and I internalized that a lot, and it just helped me.
I mean, yeah, barring the whole space magic and anthropomorphic animals, I don't know. Regular shows seem pretty human, in my opinion.
Hmm. And I think that is so ironic because like all of them physically and like uh just obviously physically they were so far from being human, but in actuality they were more human than people that I would see like walking down the street, and they just all felt so real. And I think that's just what I look for in shows.
Yeah, well. I think that's why I love Adventure Time so much, was because they could be so whimsical with their characters, and yet they could be super endearing when they wanted to be. Like Marceline the
Hmm.
vampire is a perfect example of that. She was wacky when we
Yes.
first met her, but then you watch Simon and Marcy, and you're crying your eyes out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Adventure
He
Time
was
is a
singing the
perfect
Cheers
example of
theme. He was
that.
singing the Cheers theme song with that crown on, trying to protect her. My God,
I know. So sweet.
man, we really got
But
to talk
yeah.
about Adventure Time sometime.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Tune in next time.
Yes, let's end it here. Tune in next time for what is this again? Asking for a friend with who are you again?
Listen, I don't even know myself, but I think my name's the Vertebrae Deity.
The name I entrusted to my government was Alto Burrito, even though I'm a part of the Urkin Empire. Dang it, I said it on camera. I'll have to call my anime tallest. Okay, well, that's the show, everyone. Thanks for tuning in if you did. I don't know why I said that. This is pre-recorded. Anyway, bye.
Bye.